You know what, Sam?
What?
I think we might need a goalie.
Yeah. All right, we're back with another episode of the Caniac Report, and Sam did not get rid of me. I am back.
I tried. I
Well,
tried.
you tried, but I am
But
back. Right?
again, if you want to, you can put your hand over Sam and pretend he's not here.
No, because I don't want to receive another picture from one of our listeners saying that they covered up my half of the screen.
Go ahead. Just keep covering his half. It's accepted. That's what you.
No,
That's what we expect you to do.
no. But for those who don't know, I was away just because I had a wedding. I was a groomsman down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I had gumbo for the first time, actually. So that was pretty good.
Good.
And their occasion was good. I had some seafood now. I'm not the biggest seafood fan, but I had some. And it was good. I can see why people like it down there. But yeah. So Sam, podcast stuff. We have a link for donations. If you don't know, we do have that. And that link is found in both our description on YouTube and on the traditional podcast side of things like Apple, Spotify, all that type of stuff. And another thing, too, Sam mentioned this in the last episode, but we have another ticket giveaway.
Yep.
For the Florida game, right, Sam?
Yes, we do. Again, just message us, tag us in what you're thankful for. It can be hockey related, not hockey related, but it's the day after Thanksgiving, so why not? And then we'll do this again if you want to be entered twice. Now, some of you won't be able to do this again, but for those of you who didn't, if you leave a review and show us that you left a review, you'll be entered in for a second time as well. Again, it's not everyone can't do it because you may have done it last time. But if you wanted to, or maybe you left your review on one platform and now you're going to leave a review on another platform because we have multiple platforms where you can review and leave one on it. So maybe you left one on Spotify. Now you want to leave it on Google. Maybe you left it on Apple and now you want to go leave it on Spotify. So however you want to do, if you did it on one, you haven't done it on the other, that's fine too. You want to be entered in and get yourself twice the better chances. Show us that you left a review.
Yes.
Well.
And
yeah. Cover up Sam's half of the screen.
No. That's a bad idea. That's not a good PR statement from the Caniac Report right there. But I mean, all you have to do, like what Sam said, just message us what you're thankful for, and it can just be one word, like family or a certain hockey player, or just say Hurricanes. That'd be fine with. We're pretty lenient in that. So. Another thing too is, speaking of Black Friday, we are not going to have an episode for that day. So because the previous day is Thanksgiving, we like to spend Thanksgiving with our family. So don't expect an episode that Friday, but we will be back a week from now if you're listening to this on the day this episode releases, which is Monday on the 25th. So I believe that is it in terms of podcasts. Yes, it is. So, Sam, let's start with some league-wide stuff. I believe this happened today, and St. Louis, they were like, ooh, a coach is available in Jim Montgomery, and they fired their current head coach and replaced him with Jim Montgomery. Sam, seems like St. Louis really wanted Montgomery.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize that Bannister was on the hot seat or that St. Louis had started to slide in the other direction. So I hadn't paid that much attention out west. So interesting move. But I think it's a common sense move. I think Jim Montgomery is a coveted coach. Brandon and I talked about Matt, and I talked about how we felt there was a mistake made on Boston's end. Their problem isn't their head coach, it's the roster. But someone was going to take up Jim Montgomery because he's one of the best coaches in the league, right? If you're talking about top 5, top 10 best coaches in the National Hockey League, Jim Montgomery is always going to be listed up there with Cooper and Brindamore and Laviolette, right? Paul Maurice. Like Montgomery is in that list of coaches.
Yes, definitely. So I believe he will do well with St. I think St. Louis has a pretty decent roster, and I think adding Jim Montgomery could make them a playoff team. Really could. They've already, I mean, the biggest thing that they did this past offseason was the offer sheets to Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway, and both Sam are actually doing pretty good
Mm-hmm.
for St. Louis. So good for St. Louis's pro scouting department for that, and good for them adding Montgomery. They're doing some smart things so far, I would say.
Agreed.
Another thing too, Sam, is even though the San Jose fans aren't really liking probably the season they're off to, they did have a special night last
Mm-hmm.
because Joe Thornton's number was officially retired to the rafters. And Sam, this is a player that, I mean, kind of like Crosby and Ovechkin, we kind of grew up watching. He was a great
Yeah.
player for San Jose. Along him and Patrick Marleau were really good with San Jose. So I'm happy to see. What was his nickname? Jumbo,
Yeah.
old
Jumbo Joe.
Jumbo Joe. Yep. Get his number retired to the rafters.
Yep.
You have anything else to say on that?
No, I mean he's well deserved. You knew it was going to come. It's just one of those sad things too, where you have such a good player who never won a cup.
Yeah, it is disappointing. But good luck to San Jose for retiring.
Did
Joe
they win the
Thornton's.
game or did they lose?
I actually do not know that, but I saw lots of news surrounding that. But I'm checking real quick here. San Jose lost.
Oh, that's just sad.
Against Buffalo 4-2.
Oh, well, that's just sad.
Yeah, I feel bad for San Jose, but at least it was somewhat of a special night.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much it for NHL stuff, Sam. And now we're gonna get to some Hurricanes news. One, I know you and Griff already talked about this on the last episode, but I kind of want to give my take on the whole Anderson
Go ahead.
Thing with him having surgery and being out to 12 weeks. So when that got announced, I was like, okay, I think we probably need a goalie between Peretz and Martin because I feel like you kind of need that. And Elliot Friedman reported that they're pretty safe with riding Martin and Kochetkov.
Sure.
And this was before that game against Columbus. So those were my thoughts before what happened in the game against Columbus with Kochetkov. But I do think we need to get a goalie, a safeguard. And to me, that was it on that. And then in Columbus, Sam, I know we're going to review this game, but let's just talk about the stuff outside of the game that could be affected with Kochetkov going down. We'll talk about the incident in the game, but the stuff outside of it, like getting a player, I think with Kochetkov going down, again, I do think first things first, you gotta see if he has a concussion. I think he does, and how long he's going to be out. Regardless, well,
concussions, it's a matter of when you clear concussion protocol. And for anyone who has a concussion, again, we're working on the assumption by his mannerisms and his actions after he got hurt and left the ice that we believe it's a concussion. You can be out for a week, which I think is a minimum. So do not expect Kochetkov to play in any of these next 3 games, at least. Or he could be out. Remember when Jordan Stahl had a concussion? So this isn't you're out for a couple games and then you're back. It could be a week. It could be 2. It could be 3. It could be a month. It's really a matter of when you clear the concussion protocol. And again, this is assuming he has a concussion. I would be shocked if he didn't have a concussion.
Yeah, I would be too. But let's say he is out at least the same time as Anderson's out.
Well, that's like worst case.
Would you say that's worst case? Okay.
That's worst case Jordan Stahl level concussion. I think what we're looking at as the more likely is a 1 to 2 week time period. Again, it could be Freddie timeline. That's about what Jordan Stahl's was.
I would think it could be, but let's just go with 1 to 2 weeks. And you're going up in a very difficult schedule this week against Dallas, the Rangers, and Florida. Now, Florida recently has been looking human. They
Yeah, that's
haven't
true.
been so good, but you can't take them for granted. They still have lethal players in Kachuk and Barkov. But I would say if you look at this schedule, you, again, assess what Kochetkov his timeline is, but if you know if he's going to be out, I would say longer than 2 weeks, then I think you need more of a starting goalie type of role than a goalie that fills what I just said about writing Martin and Kochetkov.
Yeah,
Because
and
Kochetkov's out now, and you need someone better than Martin.
well,
You just have to, I think.
well, do you wanna hit an ad break real quick, and then we'll come back, and I'll give my opinion on this.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. I know one of the most exciting things about Black Friday is a laptop that I can get $250 off. That's something I don't normally get. Except with Raycon, because with Raycon, you get an amazing deal on premium audio every day of the year. But that doesn't mean they're not having any sales for Black Friday. Far from it. They're actually doubling down on their amazing value by offering my viewers up to 30% site wide. For example, they now feature a 32-hour battery life and multi-point connectivity that lets you pair with 2 devices at once, especially if you haven't checked out their latest model, which includes plenty of new features that make them even more of a must-have for any audio lover. It's time to save big for Black Friday. Go to buyraycon.com/THPN today to get up to 30% off site-wide. That's right, you'll get up to 30% off everything on Raycon's website when you go to buyraycon.com/THPN. Okay, Sam, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I agree. I don't know if I'm squarely in the camp that we need to get a starting goalie as much as
I think it's
I don't.
based on the timeline of Kochetkov being out, though,
It
because
is.
you can't like if he's going to be out for like a month. I think you have to make a trade, and we know the cap ramifications of this too.
The reality is with any head injury, you don't know if it's a week, 10 days, a month, or two. Again, I think what we saw with Jordan Stahl when he had his concussion is the absolute worst case scenario when someone gets a concussion. Um, this is not his first. Again, assuming it's a concussion because we don't know. As of recording this podcast, we don't know. We're going based off of his actions after the hit. So, going with that, and you could think I'm crazy. I don't really care. I think you need to go trade for Jack Campbell. Um, and here's why I say Jack Campbell. He hasn't had a good season for the last 2 years, right? The last time he was played really, really well was in Toronto. So the reason why is because Jack Campbell is a competent goaltender, right? He did well in Toronto. Edmonton was a bit rough. He didn't really have any defense behind him when he played in Edmonton, but he's a capable goalie and he's been solid. He's had a couple of bad years. He entered the player assistance protocol or program, and he's come back. This is a goalie who has something to prove. And I would like to make the comment here about Peter Mrazek, Curtis McElhinney, James Reimer. These are all goalies who weren't who whose careers seemed like they were getting ready to fizzle out because they just weren't playing good. I think Peter Mrazek and James Reimer are the two best examples here, right? We traded Scott Darling for James Reimer, and that ended up working out really well for us. And Jack Campbell's contract is 775 or 725. It's like league minimum. So you can go to Detroit and be like, hey, here's a 7th round draft pick or future considerations. We'll take Jack Campbell off your hands. Right. And I think that's about all it would cost to bring him here. And then you've got your buffer and a goalie who maybe he starts and all of a sudden it's like, whoa, you can still play. And guess what? If you bring him in and you're like, oh, you really can't play, big whoop. He's league minimum guy. You throw him to the minors, or you buy him out, or whatever. It doesn't matter. You're not gonna be him. You're not gonna be hurting yourself at all via cap to go grab Jack Campbell and
No, you're not.
test pilot him.
No, I agree. And I would say this too. So I read an article today on the Hockey News about the whole goaltending situation. It came out this morning. So obviously it factored in the whole Kochetkov incident. But I kind of liked what was said in the fact that, listen, you have two goalies out. One of them is going to be on an expiring contract anyways in Anderson. Why not just nip it in the bud and try to get a goalie that has a contract like 2 or 3 years out? And to be honest, I'm an advocate of that. To be honest, I think no matter what, both you and I agree, there needs to be a trade that happens, whether that's Jack Campbell or John Gibson. There needs to be a trade.
Yeah, and again, I don't know. I don't really want Gibson, mainly because we already have two goalies who seem to be injury prone. I'm not.
Well, even if it's not
thrilled.
Gibson, have a goalie that
Here's just what I say.
has some term.
These are the
does have
goaltenders
NHL.
that I would grab. Jack Campbell, if you want to go on the cheap, risky, high risk, high reward. Not going to deny that when it comes to Jack Campbell. If you want to pay a little bit more, but for goaltenders who are proven and capable, there are three options, in my opinion. You can go to Chicago and bring back Peter Mrazek. I'm sure if you give the right deal, Chicago's going to send him your way. Promise you they'd do it. Be shocked if they wouldn't be willing to do it. He's not their goalie of the future. He is just their goaltender of the now. And I bet Mrazek wouldn't have a problem coming back here and trying to win because he was under contract, I believe, this year and next year. So I think he would love another shot at winning. The next goaltenders, both of these goaltenders are actually with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Tristan Jarry. In general, he's not been a great goaltender, but he's a goalie with term. And maybe he would play better in front of, behind a team that's actually able to play defense and has a significantly better roster. The other goaltender, also in Pittsburgh, Alex Nedeljkovic, also with some term. These are two goaltenders on a team that's probably going to be selling off stuff soon. So I think those are the three best options available for if you include Jack Campbell for this team, because I don't think a John Gibson makes sense. Where of the four of these, Jack Campbell has had injury issues, but I think that's a different situation. But Nedeljkovic has been healthy. Tristan Jarry has been healthy, and so has Peter Mrazek. These are goalies who have been healthy of late. And I think they're goalies you could get without having to cough up a first. If you want to go get if you want to go get Gibson, you're coughing up a first and probably a prospect to get him because he's a number one. And I think if you get John Gibson, I think that tells you the team doesn't believe Kochetkov can be a number one anyway.
Well, I wouldn't say that's true because in Anaheim, they have another goalie who's been playing superb, and Lucas Dostal. So he's already in that type of role of 1A, 1B anyways.
Has Gibson played this year? I know he was hurt. I know he was hurt to start the season.
I don't know how much.
I don't know how much Gibson's played this year.
I'll look real quick, but I mean, he has a $6.4 million contract. So the contract, I will agree, not very team friendly for the next 3 years. He is 31 years old. But the games he's played 4 games, 915 save percentage.
He's had how many games?
4.
So he's not playing a lot yet. He's played very little because he's been hurt. So he's come back now. If I were to go snag again, they're going to want a lot for Gibson because he's proven to be the best player on that roster.
Dostal's played 13 games.
Because Gibson was hurt. So he was hurt to start the year. I think he was hurt last season. I think he's been hurt the last few years for a period of time. I'm not thrilled with grabbing a goalie who's got an injury history, especially a very recent injury history that's taken him out a lot. Look, if they go get Gibson, that's fine. You're going to have to send salary out, or Anaheim's going to have to hold like half, or you're going to have to funnel at least up to half somewhere around. There are things you can do. You can throw Fost on LTIR. By the way, that is not something they've done yet. So that is an option. You could throw Freddie on LTIR, but the problem there is he's coming back, assuming he's coming back. I honestly say at this point, what would make the most sense here is tell Anaheim, if you want Gibson, you tell them you don't have to retain. Here's a first, here's a mid-level prospect, and you have to take on the contract of Freddie Anderson. I think that's what you would have to do to make the deal work. And then LTIR Fost. Because you can't LTIR Freddie, it doesn't make any sense. As of now, he's slated to come back.
I think that's too much to give Anaheim.
Oh, well, then you could do, I told you, Gibson's going to be valuable to them. They're not going to trade him for anything less than at least a first and probably a B-level prospect. When you look at that roster, I mean, Gibson's numbers haven't exactly been atrocious on really bad Anaheim teams. He's not the reason they lose.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing with Anderson is it's not the matter of him being a bad goalie, it's his health. So you would think that there's some value there.
Sure, and maybe there is, but Anderson's also on an expiring contract, and he's only going to play the last bit of the season on a team that's not going to win a cup, and it's not even going to be a playoff team. So again, I'm telling you now, the best course of action isn't to go grab John Gibson. We've been linked to him in the past. A lot of those folks aren't with the organization anymore here. Maybe Tulsky was around. I don't know. I don't know how he feels about Gibson, but tell you right now, Tulsky was around when Peter Mrazek was playing. Tulsky was around when Alex Nedeljkovic was playing. These are guys who are capable enough to play in front of this group, who could be the 1A, 1B punch with Kochetkov. Mrazek, Nedeljkovic would be Mrazek, Nedeljkovic, and Campbell are my top three targets. Is it realistic? I don't know. There are teams that might be looking to sell who might want prospects or picks because they want to get better. And maybe if you really want, you could always if you really wanted to, sign Tokarski and throw in Peretz in a deal as well if you're trading to Chicago or Pittsburgh to give them a prospect goalie as well, because we need a goalie now. They might be willing to develop Peretz a little bit more and give him more of an opportunity in those franchises because they're in a position to do so.
Yes, and it is hard getting some of a goalie other than Jack Campbell to make the cap work. And one thing I'll say about the cap, because I've said this before, and listen, I think he has had a better season overall, but I remember saying, even though actually he got called out the last game, funny enough, they could have had a lot more cap space if they bought KK out. Just saying.
KK's had one bad game in he's been good. I have no problem with KK.
I agree. I think he's been good, but they had the chance. So they can't say, oh, we don't have cap space when they had the chance right there.
Well, they should, if they wanted the cap space, they should have traded Freddie Anderson at the beginning of the season. That was the best move to make. And they can LTIR Jesper Fast. They have avenues to create cap space that they're opting against right now. So this team rather accrue,
but they're being stubborn. Wouldn't you agree? They're being stubborn with trying to create that cap space, though, a little bit.
Yeah, no, they are, because you have to make a decision on what you want. And this team is now put in a position. Now, I will say this: teams know we probably need a goalie. They're going to charge us more. And that's the problem when you don't make the move at the right time. Again, you have a rookie GM who probably doesn't grasp the severity of the situation. I've said it from before. Look, Tulsky's done a pretty good job with this roster this year. This team's been very, very good. But we have seen some very, very glaring mistakes on his part. Not claiming Reimer if he had gotten to us, which doesn't look like that ever would have happened. But definitely not claiming Jack Campbell at this point is going to come to bite us in the butt. Just to have an interim option because of this issue that had. Like we kept saying, well, Kochetkov could get hurt because he's had gotten hurt in the past, and sometimes he gets hurt. And he has an injury history now that's not looking very promising. And then we look back at Jake Gensel, that whole situation. Look, there's been some glaring mistakes when you have a stubborn owner and a very green general manager. You can point to a lot of good that he's done, but you can point to two very big mistakes that he's made. Not claiming Campbell and not getting the deal done with Jake Gensel. So At the end of the day, I still stand by my decision that it should have been Jarmo Kekalainen as GM of this franchise, who has that experience, who knows to have contingency plans. But now we're in a position where teams can take advantage of us because they should. And if I was a general manager of Pittsburgh or Chicago or Anaheim, I would ask for the farm because they need it. So they're going to raise the price on us. And it's just a fact.
Yep. Another thing too with the goalies, I'm not talking about the injuries anymore, but I just thought it was odd on this road trip how Martin played against what was it?
Devils.
Yeah, the Devils, and Kochetkov played against Philly.
Yeah, I probably would have gone with Martin in game 1 and then Kochetkov the last two. So Kochetkov still would have gotten 2, but I would have played Kochetkov against the Devils and Columbus instead of the Flyers and Columbus.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, when it comes to the performance overall on this road trip, I think 3, 4, 6, I'm fine with that. What about you, Sam? I'm fine with that.
Getting 3 out of 6 points is fine. The reality is this buffer we've given ourselves. Is it going to fall away with us not having a goalie? Now, this whole conversation could be completely meaningless by the time you listen to this, because it might come out that Kochetkov doesn't have a concussion or that he's fine and he's going against the Rangers. He will not play tomorrow or tonight. I would be shocked if he plays against Dallas. I'm fully expecting Martin to start against Dallas, but maybe Kochetkov plays against the Rangers. And it doesn't matter. This whole conversation is irrelevant, and it's just a matter of going to get a goalie. That's a goalie between Peretz and Martin.
And it's hard to speculate knowing that there's no definitive timeline for Kochetkov, whether he's going to come back 2 games from now or 2 weeks from now. We just don't know.
Yeah, again, the whole conversation could be meaningless, but I'll tell you this, it should scare the snot out of Eric Tulsky and company, because they now know that
and Brendan Moore does not want to play. Brendan Moore does not want to play Peretz.
No, he clearly doesn't. And if anything, I'll tell you right now, they came at the best case scenario, they came this close to having a tandem of Peretz and Martin. This close.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the best case situation.
Yep. Well, Sam, let's play a couple more ads and then let's get to reviewing the Columbus game. You might need to talk more on this game since I wasn't able to watch it. So let's get to this. The 24-25 NHL season still has that new car smell, and the action is heating up at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started at DraftKings Sportsbook. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. And if you are new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
One of the things I like about watching hockey is the physical play we get to see, which is why Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes it easy to see your favorite team, concerts, or shows. One of the upcoming games I am looking forward to is a Canes versus Capitals game in January. And yes, that is my co-host Sam, if you heard him. They have a few super deals that are under $100 in lower level seating. That's why one of my favorite features is the super deal. Remember, you can also get to view from your seat in the app before you apply. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. It is game time, Sam. Columbus. So,
Yes.
while I was on the plane flying back to Raleigh from my wedding, or sorry, not my wedding, my
I
cousin's
was about to say,
wedding.
Sam, when did you get married?
Sorry, my cousin's wedding. Columbus was going on, and no, I did not get married. But that Columbus game, from what I have heard, is that we weren't playing our best game. Is that correct?
No. Yeah, I mean, Carolina looked very similar to how they did against the Devils, kind of unable to get to their game. And I didn't see the first goal, but from what I was told about the first goal, that's what Kochetkov needed to have. Dante Fabro makes it 1-0 Columbus, and it's like, oh boy, are we in for another game like we had against the Devils, right? Unable to get the forecheck going. And I said before, Columbus has a lot of good players, and if you go into that game thinking it's easy out, then you're going to get burned. And maybe that's how they were thinking walking into this game, and they get burned early. 2 minutes in, Dante Fabro blows it past Kochetkov, and that's not good. So you're behind early, but fortunately, the goal-scoring leader of this team gets it done. Jack Roslovic ties it.
Former Columbus Blue Jacket, and I did see the tribute for them.
Yeah, former CBJ guy Jack Roslovic also grew up in Columbus, so it's one of those awesome situations where you're like, it would be like one of you guys or me or Sam, growing up and then playing for the Hurricanes, right? Being able to watch the team, love the team, grow up, play for the team that they've loved for forever. That's what Roslovic did in playing for Columbus. But he gets to burn his old team and ties up the game, and then you're kind of thinking, okay, maybe Carolina can get to their game. But that is all for naught because Kirill Marchenko makes it 2-1. And it's like, oh, Lord, it might be one of those games where it's a shootout. It's just who's going to score the last goal. You go into the next period, but I would say Carolina's best period was obviously that second period. We looked very, very good.
Chatfield scoring.
Chatfield from Orlov and Natchez. Natchez gets more points because, it's Natchez and he's going to get more points because it's almost impossible for him not to get points. So he gets one and it becomes 2-2. So you're like, okay, maybe there's a chance. But of course, Carolina goes on the penalty kill. And Dmitry Voronkov from Kent Johnson and Zach Werenski. Kent Johnson, one of their young centers, and Werenski's probably their best player, makes it 3-2. Carolina's just not able to, after has just been unable to do anything more than tie it. So they're down again 3-2. But Carolina gets a power play, and Sebastian Aho, who has been on a scoring kick lately, which is important, you need him to score, does so. And he gets one on the power play from guess who? Marty Natchez, who got his second point of the night. Like I said,
it seems like Aho's starting to score.
Yes, it is. He gets his 6th of the season. And that's a very important thing. You need your future captain and your best player, supposed best player, to score. Although right now I'd argue our best player is Natchez. But Natchez factors in, and it was a great play on the power play, right across, seam pass, one-timer, blows it past Merzlikins. He has nothing he's going to do to stop that. It was just a great shot. Carolina finally gets it tied. 3 minutes later, Jackson Blake, Rookie of the Year candidate, gets a goal from Jesperi Kotkaniemi, and he gets his 6th of the season. He is number 2. He's tied. He is ranked 2nd for rookie goal scores. He's got 6. He's behind only Matvei Michkov. And then Carolina takes their first lead of the night. You're like, okay, we can go into the third leading. They do go into the third leading. However, they go to the third. They play the third. Carolina's kind of on their heels. Columbus is getting chances. Kochetkov is playing very well. Carolina's not putting a lot of pressure on Merzlikins. They pull the goalie, Kirill Marchenko, from Sean Monahan and Kent Johnson at the very end of the period, 18:54, almost a minute left. snaps it right past Kochetkov, and it's a tie game. And you're like, saw it happening. You could see it coming a mile away. They were pressuring. Carolina couldn't get it out, and Columbus ties it up. And it's just one of those situations where you're like, you know what? Given the reality of the situation, let's take the point, right? Let's just get the point and get out of Columbus. 3 out of 6, like you said, is fine on this road trip where we've been playing really good lately. But we go into overtime, and nothing happens in overtime, Sam, except the one thing that happened in overtime. It did not end the game, but it certainly defined the game and defined the road trip, because that's when Pyotr Kochetkov, when Sean Walker and a Columbus player who I don't remember right now collide into Kochetkov, when Kochetkov makes an ill-advised poke check with the puck when it was not necessary.
I don't know why he did that. I really don't know why.
He puts himself in a very vulnerable position, and he gets a hit to the head. Some folks have said it was not a hit to the head. I haven't seen a single angle that didn't show that it was a clear hit to the head.
I thought it was a clear hit to the head too.
It was a hip check straight to the head, not on purpose, obviously, because it was Sean Walker. He gets his head, snaps it back. He flies backwards. I couldn't tell if he hits his head on the back bar of the post as well, but he's down and out. And at that point, it's like, oh my gosh, because he's not moving and he's laying there. So the athletic trainer comes out, and he's kind of talking to him and stuff. And then you see him try and get up. He kind of falls back down. And just all the signs of a concussion. He's holding his face. He needs help to balance. He needs help off the ice. That's why we think it's a concussion. So to finish this game, Spencer Martin has to come in. And it's like, uh-oh. He hasn't played all game. You got another, minute and a half left of overtime.
Ex-Columbus Blue Jacket.
Yes, ex-Columbus Blue Jacket. And Martin performs admirably. The only goal scored in the shootout was by Sean Monahan, and Columbus wins it 5-4. And I want to say one thing about the shootout. If you are one of those who blames Martin for this loss, you're an idiot.
No, you can't.
Because he let in 1 goal, we scored 0. So Martin could have stopped all 3. We still didn't score at all. So our 3 best players, Aho, Natchez, and I think Svech, were the 3 shooters. Yep. Not one of them scored. Those are our 3 goal scorers. Top goal scorers didn't score.
And I will admit, it's a little bit embarrassing knowing that our top 3 players could not put a goal past Merce Lincolns, who is a beatable goalie.
Yep.
It is.
Couldn't get it done. And look, it's an unfortunate situation that happened here in Columbus. At the end of the day, just getting the point or winning didn't matter. What matters is Kochetkov. You got a point against the team, and you gave up a point against a team that's not going to be competing for a playoff spot with you. And the real headline out of this game isn't Carolina blows 1-goal lead in the third to lose in shootout. It's Carolina goaltender out with late injury. Now, if Carolina is playing their game and Carolina is doing what they're supposed to do and get the puck out and forecheck, this game doesn't go to overtime and Kochetkov doesn't get hurt. But I'm not here to play these what-ifs games, because we have to play what happened. And what happened is Kochetkov gets hurt. And that could have happened this game, or it could have happened against Dallas. Kochetkov is a goalie who tends to get hurt, and this would not be his first concussion, by the way, if it is a concussion.
And it's frustrating because the ways he gets hurt is because of his aggressive play style. And while I hate what happened to him, Sam, I mean, you saw that hit. He should not have tried to deliver that poke check to the puck. He shouldn't. And one thing that I think Kochetkov really needs to learn, and I think all of us needs to agree, is just the timing of going out and making that desperate big save on a puck. Because I don't think he's learned that. Because if he did, he wouldn't have, I think, the big injury history he's had.
Yeah. Again, it's just a matter of you got to learn to play the puck correctly. You got to learn to...
Timely. It's timely.
I think timely. Yeah, and that's the thing. And at the end of the day, he made a mistake and it cost him. Because it's not Walker's fault.
It's not
And
the
it's-
Columbus player's fault either. He has right
No.
to go to the puck too.
Yeah, so there was an unnecessary poke check. He put himself in a vulnerable position, and it's an unfortunate situation that you have here. Again, I don't know if it was the hit from Walker that caused the injury. I don't know if he hit his head on the back bar of the net. But it was a hit to the head, and it was an issue there. And those players are going fast, so it's not like it was a tap. We're watching it in slow motion, so it doesn't look fast, but it was very fast. And these
it
players
looked
are
bad.
tough.
It just really looked bad because I saw the replay several times. It doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't. And now Carolina's in a position where they're going to have to pay a premium to fix the problem.
Yep, because I do think this management team has a tendency of over-analysis leads to paralysis. That's what I like to say. I'm serious. You can come up with all the possibilities, all the chances, but if you don't take a chance, then it doesn't matter.
No, and again, it's they're now. John Waddell always liked to say, they don't want to be reactive. Well, they've put themselves now in a position where they have to be reactive, right? Instead of they weren't proactive, they're in a position where they have to be reactive because they don't.
And they should have known with Kochetkov's Kochetkov. We already know. Everybody knows he plays an aggressive style.
Yeah.
So it's not like you knew he was. I mean, in my right mind, like with him playing that, I'm not expecting him to play 80 straight. Well, at this point, like 50 something straight games, not get hurt. You can't expect that because of the style that he plays.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's just, I think this injury just kind of shows a fault in the management style, just a little bit of a fault. I still think the management overall is mostly good. It's just they have that tendency to not pick a decision. So, but I think that is it for this episode, Sam. Again, you will not see us this Friday, so we will see you a week from when this episode releases, which is going to be on December 2nd.
And you have until the day before Thanksgiving to enter into our giveaway. So I will announce the winner after the game against the Rangers. I will announce it that night.
Yes. All right. Awesome. So, yeah, we will see you guys next time.
Happy Thanksgiving.